The NFL preseason is finally over, so I'm going to break down my final 53-man roster projection for the New England Patriots because, as we all know, tomorrow is the absolute deadline for the Patriots to figure out who is going to be playing for the New England Patriots this upcoming NFL season. And in case you guys haven't been reminded enough, here is a graphic that I made for you guys. It is tomorrow, Tuesday, August 27th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. That is when Jerod Mayo needs to have his 53-man solidified, submitted, and ready to go. Not to mention, for the New England Patriots, I have a feeling we should also know by tomorrow who quarterback one is going to be. Jerod Mayo said he would like to announce it to his team first before he went public with it. But he also said last week they should probably know who quarterback one is by Monday night. So here is my roster projection for the depth chart for the New England Patriots. I did put Jacoby Brissett as quarterback one because as of right now, it is still Jacoby Brissett until we hear otherwise. If Drake May decides to make that jump, I am all for it, but I did end up cutting Bailey Zappi, keeping Joe Milton. Even though week 3 in the preseason wasn't the best, I think Joe Milton is a better project than Bailey Zappi is, considering you've already kind of seen the ins and the outs of what Zappi can do. Here's what Jerod Mayo also said earlier this morning on the Greg Hill Show, and he said, this is a true quarterback competition, and I would say at this current point, Drake has outplayed Jacoby Brissett. Now, in saying that, we have to take in the full body of work going all the way back to the spring and beginning of training camp, and then we'll see where we end up. So this isn't just looking at the preseason, which is obvious Drake May played better than Jacoby, but they're going to use every single factor that they have had both quarterbacks under their Patriots roster. But Alex Van Pelt said last week, Jacoby Brissett looks more ready to be quarterback one in week 1. But then Jerod Mayo said if Drake May outplays Jacoby, then it'll be his job. Well, Jerod Mayo just confirmed that Drake is playing better than Jacoby. But they are going to look at everything under the sun, so it's truly still a quarterback competition. But let's talk about what resources these QBs are going to have, and I'm going to talk about the roster projection for the running back. I'm going to go with 4 running backs for Alex Van Pelt and the Patriots offense. We're not sure exactly who's going to be quarterback one. So, yes, you may have 6 wide receivers on the roster, and that's fine. But you can have a little bit of solid trust in the run game with Ramondre Stevenson leading the pack. Now he actually has a little bit of help. You're not going to work him until the sun comes up because now you can use Antonio Gibson as your third down back. Plus, they used a lot of Kevin Harris and JaMycal Hasty in the preseason, which leads me to believe that I think Kevin Harris is going to end up being running back 3 with JaMycal Hasty as running back 4. They're very similar in their run styles. They've got that hard-nosed, fall-forward, bully power type of play. So if I'm Alex Van Pelt, I would like to have 4 running backs rather than maybe having 7 wide receivers, but it'd be intriguing to see what the Patriots end up doing with giving those quarterback resources. Here is a huge battle that has been going on for the entire offseason. It's who is going to be the wide receivers for the New England Patriots. Just like I said, I'm going to take 4 running backs and 6 wide receivers. I have seen a couple of projected depth charts out there of 3 running backs and 7 wide receivers. But here is who I ultimately decided to keep. Number 1, Kendrick Bourne will probably start on the PUP list, although Jerod Mayo has not said that just yet. I put Jalen Polk as my wide receiver 1. You got Pop Douglas in the slot, and I'm going to put Javon Baker, who has had some inconsistent catches in the preseason, but I'm putting him at wide receiver 3 with KJ Osborne, Jalen Reagor, and Tyquan Thornton to be the other 3 backup wide receivers for the Patriots. And I thought long and hard about this. I really do like Kayshon Boutte, and I thought he excelled in training camp and in preseason. And if they do end up keeping Kayshon Boutte, I am completely okay with that. He showed that he has sticky hands, that he can climb the ladder. He's got the speed. However, Tyquan Thornton just seemed a little bit more reliable to me in the preseason, not so much in training camp. So I ultimately went with Thornton, but I could see them keeping Kayshon Boutte, and if they do decide to keep 7 receivers, I could see them keeping both. So now my question comes back to you guys, the fans of Patriots Today by Chat Sports. Pick one to cut. Tyquan Thornton, type TT, Kayshon, Boutte, type KB. Let me know who you guys are getting rid of, who you are keeping in the comment section down below. While you guys are doing that, take your time because it took me like 3 minutes to figure out my top 6 wide receivers. I'm going to tell you guys really quick about our sponsor here on Patriots Today by Chat Sports. I am talking about Factor. Factor is just a great no prep, no mess meal service. Not to mention, with football season right around the corner, don't get me wrong, I like whipping up some appetizers here and there, but when it comes to making meals, I am going leftovers, sandwich, PB&J Central, because I have no time to make myself dinner. That's why I use Factor meals. And thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto, I don't have to worry about getting fat in the football season because I know the food that I'm eating is dietitian approved and it's actually affordable for a healthy lifestyle. I'm currently trying to lose some weight myself. I just recently bought a bike, but I always know that it's working out and then eating right as well really helps you just enjoy those nutritious, great tasting meals. And plus, when you've got 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you're always going to have new flavors to explore. And I even got one time, I got their smoothies. I didn't even know Factor offered smoothies. I thought it was just dinner, but it's not. They've got nice snacks to keep you guys full throughout the day. They've got delicious meals from breakfast to dessert. And when I had their smoothie, it was completely made with 100% coconut water, and I'm already dehydrated as it is. I suck at drinking water. So to get that hydration from the coconut water was huge, not to mention strawberry banana. It just tasted phenomenal. So go ahead, treat yourself to restaurant quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. If you're wondering, Allie, how do I get signed up for Factor Meals? How do I get myself a box? Head to factormeals.com/PatsChat50 and use code PatsChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That sounds unreal. That's code PatsChat50 at factormeals.com/PatsChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Well, here are my top 3 tight ends that are going to be playing for the Patriots here this season. Obviously, Hunter Henry being the top 2 leading receivers for the Patriots last year. He's not going anywhere. Austin Hooper was very surprised and very pleased with how Austin Hooper played in the preseason. But Jaheim Bell, he is the big name here in this tight end room because they drafted him this last year. But Jaheim Bell, not to mention he's got a great attitude. The kid is huge. He is a big body tight end. Kind of gives me that Logan Thomas type of build where if he was a quarterback, he'd be really big. But since they moved him over to tight end, he really works not just in the blocking, but also with his hands in the pass game. I think Jaheim Bell is going to make a lot of Patriots fans very happy this year with his level of production. But all of this starts with the offensive line, who genuinely gives me stomach ulcers. I can't stand this offensive line. I will be honest. And at left tackle, you got Verdarian Lowe, who's currently battling a torso injury, so that's already on the radar. Sidy Sow left the Patriots preseason game versus the Commanders in a walking boot. That keeps me up at night. David Andrews, who's also dealt with injuries. Mike Onwenu, who I love at right guard. And then Chuck Okorafor, who just recently had two flags on him for lining up improperly in a preseason game at right tackle. I mean, it just looks like it's completely going downhill. But the only thing that kind of gave me a little bit of reassurance here is what Gerard Mayo said earlier this morning on WEEI. The starting guard or the starting tackle may not be on the team today. Does that mean Gerard Mayo and the Patriots staff is going to go looking out on the waiver wire on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time? Does that mean this offensive line isn't going to be the offensive line that we have to watch the next 17 games? Because there are bright spots. But I didn't even realize how bad you needed Verdarian Lowe until you had Calvin Anderson out there at the left tackle spot who was starting in front of Drake May. I didn't realize how much we love David Andrews until I saw Nick Leverett fumble 2 snaps in the first offensive series. It's killing me. So maybe that'll have another tweak after tomorrow. But let's go to the defensive side, the side that doesn't give me as much acid reflux. Let's talk about the three front. Keion White, the defensive end, Devon Godchild, the nose tackle, who was kind of up there with Matthew Judon in a lot of contract negotiations that were seemingly going south until Devon did sign a contract extension, and now he's a full participant. And now you have Daniel Ekuale, who's probably going to be starting at the other side of that defensive tackle spot because you're going to have Christian Barmore starting off on the IR because the 25-year-old does unfortunately have blood clots. There is no timetable to return for Christian Barmore right now. I'm okay with Daniel Ekuale. I've seen a lot in training camp that's given me a little bit of hope that maybe it won't be as stat-loaded as Christian Barmore does produce week in and week out, but I do think he's good enough in the run and the pass to make up for a little bit of what Barmore would be providing day in and day out. But I don't want to talk about that defensive tackle. I want to talk about this defensive end. Keion White is supposed to have this breakout second-year season, especially with Matthew Judon no longer being on the roster. In every preseason game so far, Keion White has gotten to the quarterback. How many sacks do you think Keion White is going to have this NFL season? I'm going to go with 8. I'm going to go with 8. Christian Barmore had 11 last season. I want to see what Keion White can do. Give me 8. Make up for the lack of Matthew Judon on the field this season. Let's go back a step further. Let's go to the linebacker position. I've got Anthony Jennings, Jelani Tavai, Jawan Bentley, and Josh Uche as my starting four. But then I have McMillan, Taki, and O'Shane Ximines. I did end up putting O'Shane Ximines on my 53-man roster. I think he proved everything that he needed to prove. And just like how Giants Now host Marshall Green said, is that sometimes when Giants players end up leaving New York and go to another franchise, for some God-known reason, they end up playing better than we could have ever imagined. Hopefully that's what happens with Ox, but everybody seems to really enjoy him from coaching staff to players, so I do hope that Ox will end up being a good backup position. But in terms of the four linebackers not really having Judon anymore will sting, but I do think Anthony Jennings and Josh Uche are really going to step up this year. Now let's go to the secondary, the cornerback position. Nothing really changes from the starting three. You got Jonathan Jones, Christian Gonzalez, Marcus Jones as well, but I ended up taking 4 for the depth chart here. Alex Austin, Marcellus Dial, who we very rarely will see, Isaiah Boutte, and Marco Wilson. I decided to keep Isaiah Boutte. He nearly had an interception last night as he extended. He read the play perfectly. He was on the receiver like white on rice. He extended right there with him, but it slipped through his hands. I think Isaiah Boutte has proved enough to me, at least, that he should be in the depth chart. And honestly, I think I would take Boutte over Marco Wilson, but I decided just to take all 7 of them in total because you never know with the cornerback injuries in the cornerback room what they're going to end up doing. And here are my final roster projections for the defense. The safety, obviously Duggar, Peppers, they're both extended this offseason. They're not going anywhere. But I end up taking Del Pettis. I think Del Pettis was phenomenal. Not to mention Schooler, they like to use a little bit more so when it comes to special teams. So if you really focus Pettis, maybe transition him from a strong to a free safety, I do think he could end up being a viable role player behind Jalen Hawkins, Duggar, and Peppers. Because really after Peppers and Duggar, it just kind of gets up in the air. Yes, Hawkins has some good plays, and yes, Pettis has some good plays, but you can always improve in that area, in my opinion. And then finally, for the special teams, I ended up taking Joey Sly to be the kicker for the New England Patriots. I know that he ended up missing 2 field goals in his last preseason game, but he made a hell of a lot field goals in practice. Not to mention, they used the kickers to end practice one day, and Joey Sly went 4 for 4 with Chad Ryland from 35 yards going 1 for 4. I just don't think Chad is going to fit with the Patriots this year. Not to mention, you have to think about how many field goals the Patriots might defer to because of their red zone offense, because of their quarterback bubble, and because of the resources that they have. I'm going to end up sticking with Joey Sly. But my last question for you guys is, who do you think is a surprise cut candidate for the Patriots? They've already made several cuts this morning. Not to mention linebacker William Bradley King, who I thought was a little bit of a surprise cut. I didn't end up having him in my 53-man roster, but I thought maybe he'd make it to Tuesday. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I will be posting shorts. I will be posting videos. We will let you guys know everything you need about the 53-man roster today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and every day after that. So all you guys have to do to be completely in the know is hit that sub button for me.